So how does someone go about getting involved in HIP 2?
Well, you're right. We recognize that, again, the mayor's vision is for home ownership, whether it be for new construction or the existing housing developments or existing housing that's currently available in the city of East Chicago. We have a number of circumstances where, in fact, properties have been foreclosed on in our community and banks are holding those properties. And we're forging a relationship with the lending institutions that do business in the city of East Chicago to actually acquire some of those properties. We have another program in which we will acquire the properties, rehab the properties, and then place the properties up for sale, again in conjunction with our home ownership down payment assistance program. So anyone who's interested in home ownership in the city of East Chicago should contact our offices.
And that phone number?
At 219-397-9974, extension 21. And they can receive the necessary information to begin that process. Again, everyone who participates in this program, and also I should also indicate that this is not a first-time home ownership program. It is a program that provides an opportunity for home ownership in the city of East Chicago. In order to avail yourself of these programs, however, excuse me, you must select a home that's going to be your principal residence in the city of East Chicago.
You don't have to be a first-time home buyer, because there's a lot of those programs out there. So anybody that, say somebody that lives in North Hammond or the East Side or Griffith or whatever, doesn't have to be an East Chicago resident buying an East Chicago home.
That's correct.
Anybody who wants to come in. Pat, can you have Ryan look up the median home price in East Chicago, unless you know how to do that? I'm just curious with the median home price. Do you know, John, off the top of your head? We're going to get that, and then we'll be able to use, because I got to believe it's under 100,000.
It is.
Yeah, it's got to be maybe in the 70,000.
65 to 70,000,
yeah, so
I would guess.
If you're buying a house for 70,000 and you get a $15,000 jump on that, then can that be used as the down payment also, or how does that work?
What happens is that the down payment will be used on the house has to be approved by the Department of Redevelopment, that it meets all of the necessary code requirements, etc. But the price, again, the down payment assistance is on the actual price for the house. So if it is a $60,000 house, the $15,000 down payment does apply, and you walk in with $15,000 worth of equity for all intended purposes in that house.
And now are people already doing this?
There are people who are going through our training programs right now as we speak, and there are people who are already begun to speak with the local lenders. And I'd like to add that the lending institutions that are participating with us in the city of East Chicago are Centier Bank, Citizens Federal Bank, People's Bank, PNC Bank, Harris Bank, and Standard Bank. These are our partners, and we have been working with them now for a number of months, for all intended purposes, to develop a mechanism that would make it easier for those who are looking to purchase existing and or new construction to do so and qualify for their particular mortgages.
Let's go. Let's go to Nathan on line 3. Say these guys have been waiting a while. Nathan, you're on with John Artis. What's up?
Morning, guys. Couple of questions answered there, but I was wondering what I joined in a little bit late. What the terms are for existing homes? What's that amount, and the new homes?
The existing homes, if you are going to buy an existing property that's been approved by the Department of Redevelopment for purchase, you would be eligible for a $15,000 down payment assistance under the Housing Initiative Program number 2. The HIP program number 1 is a $25,000 down payment assistance for newly constructed homes that would be approved by the city. And I indicated earlier that the city has been acquiring properties and building homes itself through the Department of Redevelopment, but that is not the only source through which a potential homeowner can avail themselves of home ownership opportunities. That you can find your own properties and build your own house in the city of East Chicago and still qualify for these particular programs. So we're just looking to encourage home ownership in all phases.
That's available for any existing home in East Chicago that's for sale?
any existing home in the city of East Chicago that's for sale and is inspected and improved by the Department of Redevelopment.
What do you think of this?
It is a single-family home. We're not talking about rental housing. We're not talking about apartment houses. We're talking about single-family home ownership.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that the median price of an owner-occupied single-family home in East Chicago is about $75,000. So that's 20% down payment on a median-priced home in the city for an owner-occupant. And I think Centaur Bank has a program for certain areas that will give you a very low interest loan. And if it's 80-20, it's going to be even lower interest.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because there are also banks that are working with us in the city of East Chicago that have their own down payment assistance programs for anyone who would purchase a home in the city of East Chicago. For instance, Harris Bank has a $10,000 down payment assistance program for qualified purchasers in the city of East Chicago. So you could marry our program of, say, $15,000 for an existing program with Harris Bank's $10,000 program and actually end up with a $25,000 down payment assistance on a home.
In this market, sellers are most likely going to end up paying for closing costs as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 5 or 6% of the purchase price on an $80,000 purchase. So, owner occupants can buy a home in the city of East Chicago for little and no money down, and you can't do that in very many places in this area.
That's right.
There's a lot of buyers who want to buy. They have the good credit to buy. They have the income, but they don't have the the $4,000 or $5,000 you need elsewhere outside of East Chicago. Or Hammond has some programs, but you need a couple $1,000s there. So it could attract some home buyers. It's good, and it's necessary, because there are a lot of foreclosures in Hammond and East Chicago that need to be eaten up. We need to sell them.
All right, hey, Nathan, according to the most recent data, the median price in EC is actually below $50,000, right around $47,000.
If we look at median price of owner-occupied homes, it's going to be different. The foreclosures are lowering home values throughout the area, because these homes are selling for a very low cost, but ideally they're being rehabbed and put back on the market for sale.
All right, man, thanks a lot. 219-845-1100. Let's go to line 6 with Peter. Hey, Peter, you're on with John Artis.
Good morning, Jed, and good morning, Mr. Artis.
Good morning.
I think you might have answered my question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For new home construction, is that zoned for just certain areas, or is it anywhere in the city of East Chicago?
No, anywhere in the city of East Chicago. Obviously, the Department of Redevelopment has identified redevelopment areas in which we have, over the years, acquired properties, and much of the new housing that we're developing right now are on sites that we already own. And so we're able to drive down the cost of these new homes by virtue of the fact that we already own the properties, and so there's no initial acquisition of land cost associated with these new homes. So there are neighborhoods such as Calumet and North Harbor and portions of other neighborhoods that are redevelopment areas that we're concentrating on, but that does not prohibit a homeowner from searching in other neighborhoods and seeing existing properties that they would want to purchase, or see vacant properties that they would want to build on. So no, we're not limiting the access to this program to any particular neighborhood. The other thing I should also point out is that we have a number of funding sources that we're using for this particular program. Some of the funding sources are federal in nature, and those funding sources that are federal in nature will require or put restrictions on income limits for those who would qualify for the program. But to circumvent that kind of a barrier for those who are overqualified income-wise, for some of these particular programs, there will be other funding sources that will be brought to bear on this particular program or in this program that would eliminate an income restriction whatsoever. Again, our intent is to encourage homeownership in the city of East Chicago. We want these homes to be residents of principal, residency in the city of East Chicago, and we're trying to encourage that in that way. Even though the economy, and I think the previous caller kind of alluded to that, is difficult, there still are people who are credit worthy and have an interest in home ownership, but there's just that one barrier in terms of the down payment assistance and closing costs associated with that prohibits that.
Well, it sounds like a great program, and I wish you and the city of East Chicago the best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
In this program. They need to get their a lot of properties that need to be filled and get them back on the tax roll.
Absolutely. That's
All right, man.
purpose.
Thanks a lot. 219-845-1100. Once again, we're talking to John Artis. He is the Director of Redevelopment in the City of East Chicago. John's talking about a program that I had not heard about, and obviously most of the callers that are calling in have not heard about it. It's the HIP program, either $25,000 for new construction or $15,000 to buy an existing home. I want to circle back on one thing you said. Part of it includes federal money, so you do have to meet income requirements.
That's correct.
You have to certain poverty guidelines and so forth. But you guys are trying to, and those can be fairly restrictive sometimes. Sometimes people actually get penalized for having a good job. So you're talking about using other funding sources that would, so in other words, when somebody comes in, if they don't make enough money, you'll use the federal money. If they make too much money, you'll go to the outside funding sources.
Exactly.
What are those?
There'll be a combination of gaming and other funding sources that would come to pass in the city.
State and local that are not
tied to any income restrictions, right?
So once again, so why now? Why are you guys doing this now?
Well, because the circumstances warrant some sort of a jump start in home ownership in the city of East Chicago. The mayor had seen and looked at the demographic data in the city of East Chicago, and there's a high rental rate in the city of East Chicago, and he wants to see an opportunity for home ownership, not only for the persons who live in the city of East Chicago, but those who may be outside of the city and want to come into the city. And we want to try and change that tax base from rental housing, much of which is owned by not-for-profits, which don't generate taxes for the community and for the county and the state, but into home ownership situations. The other thing that's driving us in this regard is the high rate of foreclosures, and people are losing homes, and these homes are standing abandoned in the city of East Chicago, and many of them are in what we call stable neighborhoods. And if left unchecked, and if they're continued to allow them to remain, or rather, if they remain abandoned and unoccupied, they can in fact affect the home ownership values, or the home values rather, of the existing properties next to it. So we're trying to circumvent that and come up with a program that provides.
We'll circle back on abandoned homes next. Let's take another phone call. If you want to get in with John Artis, you got to do it right now, guys. 219-845-1100. Mad Mac, how are you?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Good.
And I must admit, you sound like the most articulate politician in the history of East Chicago, as opposed to some of the other folks trying to pry the money out of that town and run away with it. But you may not be so familiar with it, but there was a huge article in the Times, like within the last 1 to 2 months, about the huge brouhaha between the parents of the children in the East Chicago school system and the folks running it, where they were, they expected 20 people, they had like 300, and there are some quite indignities done to these parents who wanted to show up and have input into this. Just what is going on with that school system? Because I've had a few friends who are teachers who left because they say it's just out of control. And the article didn't really explain on what is the problem between the administrators and the parents on why they can't turn that school system around.
All right, good question. Thanks a lot. I know, John, that's a little bit out of your league.
It's way out of my league. That is out of my bailiwick altogether.
Well, let's talk about this. All right,
Okay.
you have a 40. This is certainly tainted by foreclosures, but the median price, Ryan, the best producer in Chicago, is in Indiana, gives me $46,500 on the average home price in East Chicago over June to August. Okay, a lot goes into that.
Absolutely.
But mostly it's foreclosures that are just getting hammered, and you're talking about abandoned housing. I know that one of the biggest things about propping up home values is schools and the perception and the reputation of the schools. Quite frankly, I go into EC Central, and I see kids that want to learn, and I see a lot of good things going on. And then you walk down the street, and everyone says it's the worst. It's the worst school in the region, and it's kind of a dichotomy. How do you? I mean, how do you change that? I mean, to prop home ownership up, you got to change that perception somehow.
Absolutely. We've long recognized that a educational system within a community is also an economic engine for that community. When a couple seeks out a community to make their first purchase in, and there's no question that all the parameters are looked at, including the education. It's something that has to be worked on, and I know that the powers that be in the educational system are trying to do just that. And I think that at some particular point in time in the short term that it will in fact be addressed, because you're absolutely right. There are a number of children who go to our school systems that are achieving, and the opportunities are there for them, but for the school system as we know it now, there are some challenges, and they have to be addressed. And we're hopeful and prayerful that these things will be addressed, and that whole thing will turn around, because it is a part of our economic redevelopment initiative in the city of East Chicago. You can't have one without the other.
John Artis is here, Director of Redevelopment. Once again, the HIP program. 30-second summary of that, because these guys over here are giving me the 30-second the sign. All right, so go ahead.
Two programs. One that will provide a down payment assistance, forgivable loan in the amount of $25,000 for anyone who purchased a newly constructed home in the city of East Chicago. A $15,000 down payment assistance will be provided for anyone who buys an existing property in the city of East Chicago. And we're looking specifically to partner with the local lending institutions in the city of East Chicago that are working with us, and I've listed them previously. But that does not prohibit you from using another bank outside of our community that you may have a history with. But we are, in fact, encouraged by the relationship we forged with the local banks. And I'd like to repeat those banks as well, if I may. Centier Bank, Citizens Financial Bank, People's Bank, PNC Bank, Harris Bank, and Standard Bank. And I also want to emphasize that several of those banks have their own down payment assistance programs for those who qualify, so that you can marry our program with their particular programs, and there's a greater opportunity for home ownership.